Evening and welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, February 12th, and we're starting right at 6 o'clock. At this time, I would like to confirm the agenda. Are there any emergent items from any of the councillors tonight? He paused and carried on. Seeing none, anything from lead services or admin?
Thank you, Worship. Administration is going to be requesting that Council move the in-camera portion for item 6.1 to after the question and answer period 7.0 on your agenda.
Thank you. And councillors? Deputy Mayor Wiley?
I'll move that Council adopt the February 12th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting agenda as amended. To move 6.1, Council CAO Dialogue Advice from Officials, FOIP Section S24 1BI, to come after 7 question and answer period.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is carried. Item 3, we have no delegations tonight. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. 4.1, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for January 15th, 2025. Councillor Peterson.
I move that Council adopt the January 15th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented in Attachment 1.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
And that motion is carried. We move now to item 5, business. 5.1, in the Municipal Policing Committee bylaw. Good evening, Mark, and welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of Council. I'm here to speak tonight regarding the proposed Municipal Policing Committee bylaw that you have in front of you. As Council recalls, the town received a correspondence from Minister Ellis's office at the end of November 2024 that indicated the legislative requirements to the Police Act has changed, and municipalities are required to form a regional policing committee or a municipal policing committee or commission. As if Council recalls, based on a motion from Council, administration has contacted Minister Ellis's office to request permission to opt out of the regional policing committee and form our own municipal policing committee. The bylaw is attached here and for discussion for Council. While we're still waiting for word back from Minister Ellis's office, there is a legislative requirement to enact our bylaws by March 1st. So if there's any questions from Council, I'll do my best to answer them.
Mark, are we okay to ask questions on the actual bylaw that's been presented?
Yes, please, Your Worship.
Thank you. I have one question. It deals with bylaw section number 5. First of all, it starts with composition of the committee, but what I'm wondering about is number 6, resignation and removals. Under D, it says, Council may terminate a member's appointment to the committee at any time, and particularly when the member D is convicted of a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada. My question is, would that not come in? Why wouldn't we have that in under composition of the committee? Because you basically are saying that you could have this person on the committee, but that's why he can be removed. So is there any benefit or is it a risk for us to say that the committee, the composition of the committee cannot contain a person who has been convicted of a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada? Because on the one hand, we're saying that's how he can be removed, but we're not saying anything about can he go on that, because once he goes on that, he can be removed right away.
Through the chair, I believe the intention of that is that you may have an individual that is appointed to this committee that has not committed that offense and been or not been charged with it, and then if they are so then convicted while they're as a part of this committee, then they would have to be removed.
So if someone was convicted, they could put their name in for this committee?
If they're convicted, they would not be eligible.
Okay.
But if they were convicted while a part of this committee,
okay,
they would be they would have to be terminated.
I guess I'm wondering if there should be a statement under 5 saying something to the effect of no person convicted of a crime in Canada can be a member of this committee. So that might, I don't know how council feels, but I'm just thinking if someone applied to be a member and was already convicted, they would see right up front that they can't get on that committee right away.
Through the chair, that may be flagged automatically as a part of the mandatory enhanced security check.
Like 5B? Well, no, I'm just trying to think about whether that would do what Mark's talking about.
That's, obviously, council, that's something we can look at too. Obviously,
Sorry,
there's.
5.9B.
Yes, that's correct. That's the enhanced criminal record check and suitable screening through the RCMP. So that would be flagged immediately.
Okay, so
at that
that's where
point.
the screening would occur.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And if I can follow up, Your Worship?
Yep.
An enhanced, is also includes the child welfare check. That's what the enhanced criminal record check does.
Yeah, through the chair, Councilor Peterson, we're still trying to seek some clarification from the province on that. Initially, when the correspondence from Mr. Ellis' office came back, it was the enhanced security check as indicated there. And now, just yesterday, we received some correspondence from the province that it may not, it does require some elements of a criminal record check, but there again, there's kind of, I don't want to say they're flip-flopping, but they're sending clarity every couple days or so.
Other employers are doing the same thing, yeah, because there is some lack of understanding around it. I have another question, Your Worship. Will we set up a terms of reference pertinent to this, or does this serve as that in terms of the way the committee is structured and their duties and responsibilities under that?
Through the chair, Councilor Peterson, the duties and responsibilities are set forth here in section 3.1.
And so that is then the terms of reference?
And that's mandated by the province. Those are the quote-unquote powers in terms of reference for this committee.
So I guess one of the things that I would like to see, if it's our own bylaw, is a shift to G on that around reporting. And I'd like to see a more vigorous statement about how the reporting will happen. In other words, it says report annually or on request to the minister, but how will they report to council? Because that is an issue with this council, and so being able to ensure that we had timely reporting after each meeting, for me is an important consideration, and I don't know if it is captured anywhere else.
Through the chair, Councilor Peterson, I believe it's in there somewhere. I'll have to find it specifically. If not, we can definitely address it. The intention, obviously, is that this committee would report in one reality back to council along with the minister upon request. But likewise, you're also going to receive you still would be receiving your regular quarterly correspondence from our staff sergeant Wilgosh in this case as well.
Right, but if we have a member from this council sitting on a committee, we want to have timely, pertinent reports relevant to the meetings that are being held. And I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mark? Deputy Mayor Wiley? Oh, Kevin, did you have a comment?
Sorry, just a suggestion on Councillor Peterson's. In my experience with the policing committee in St. Albert, often, if I recall what was occurring with it, was the chair or such of the policing committee would come to the annual quarterly reporting with the officer in charge, and they'd kind of give a dual report on the policing committee and policing stats from the officer in charge. Something you might want to consider.
Through the chair, Councillor Peterson, I've just been advised, I just found it with the help of our legislative services staff, that section 9.7 speaks about that the municipal policing committee may make such reports to council on matters of public concerns. We can change may to shall if you wish.
That is, I think, I think that there's always some difficulty in terms of how we establish language in terms of the pedagogy and the expectation. So I'm just one voice here. Whatever it is, I just want to ensure that when they have meetings, we get reports. That's what I want to see, and that the reports are fulsome to the actions that are on, because having a member now, we have increased oversight or increased responsibility. So I certainly hear what our CEO is saying in terms of, the quarterly reports coming forward. That's a wonderful thing. But lots of things can happen now in a bigger community, which is why we're establishing these. And so now there's a different level of expectation. And so I think that that should carry over to this table as well. And I'm sure my fellow councillors have their own thoughts on it, and I'm happy to hear what you have to say at a later date too. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Wiley, I believe you had a question or two?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the duties, which is section 3.1, page 14. There's a whole row of them, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I'm looking at just a couple of vocabulary I'm just figuring out. So if I understand correctly, the committee would be working with the council, with the RCMP, and with the sort of members of the public to work through all these duties. I'm looking at section 3D. They're to develop a community safety plan with the chief elected official. Who would that be? That's the mayor. So the mayor is, if I understand, is coming to, would the mayor be at all the meetings?
Through the chair, as you can see there, and I think it's under 5.5, the mayor is an ex officiato, a member of this committee, and that's actually consistent with our bylaws and
So
other
basically
committees
he or
as
she
well.
would just be signing off on this community safety plan?
This would be presented to the committee, he or she.
What? I don't mean to presume who the next mayor is going to be. I'm not confused
That
as to
hurt a
who
little.
Pat is.
The committee would obviously make this community safety plan in conjunction with the RCMP as well as the mayor and council, and then present it to council for consideration as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word you said. Debbie was speaking me.
As indicated there in section 3.1D, this community safety plan would be made in conjunction with the RCMP and the mayor if necessary. And they would develop a plan for the community and all those things like that. And this would then be presented to council with the committee's recommendation.
And so collaboration then with the community is the 4 representatives from the community?
That's
or would there be like outreach?
Through the chair, that's correct, through those 4 representatives.
And those representatives are also the community agencies?
Not necessarily. The committees can obviously reach out to various agencies. So the committee representing those 4 individuals from the public, as well as a member of council, would then, in conjunction with the RCMP, make that community safety plan, present it to council for their support as well.
Okay, and then going on to E, this committee would assist in the selection of the officer in charge. And so in Strathmore, who would be the officer in charge?
Under the definition sections, Councillor Wiley, you can see the officer in charge means the local detachment RCMP commander. And in
So
this
as of
case,
now-
Staff Sergeant Will Gosh.
So what does that mean then, that they would help select the officer in charge? So this seems like a pretty significant duty. This committee would be part of that selection process?
I can't speak to the specifics about this. Like I said, these are legislative requirements. How this may assist is that they may have a representative with the RCMP in the selection of it. Ultimately, the RCMP are responsible for determining their own detachment commanders, but they may obviously take feedback in from this committee in this case.
So likely this is more of like an advisory role, like the committee is helping the RCMP with advice for the officer in charge?
I can't speak to the specifics of that, Councillor Wiley. This is, as I indicated, a legislative requirement that's pretty much word for word out of the Police Act and how it's been amended.
Okay.
My suggestion, my belief is exactly that, is that maybe a member of the committee may sit upon that process there for the selection of the officer in charge.
So would it become, I understand that you don't know the specifics. I'm going to say it anyway, and then you can repeat you don't quite understand. But would it become like a situation on a local council where you have the elected, in this case would be appointed officials, appointed committee members who are sitting on this committee, and then they assist in electing their one sole employee? Is it similar to this, but then it's not their employee?
We can take that away and look at it. In my experience, like the policing committee helps with it, but there's still a lot of decision making within the RCMP, and things may have changed with this legislation. But in my experience, ultimately the division, in this case K Division for Alberta, will make the final decision, but they will take the input from the stakeholders, including policing committee members.
So hopefully for when we go to pass this, we can just have a better sense of that. That would be fantastic. I would like to know that. Not that it changes anything, because as you said, we're just adopting the language from the legislation that already exists. Okay, well, I have another question then that you may or may not know. So then for number 3F, may appoint a public complaint director. What would, I understand there's vocabulary, but what could this entail, and what powers does this person have?
Do you want me to take it? So a public complaint director, I mean, I'm by no means an expert on it, but in terms of complaint handling, the RCMP have a process starting locally and then provincially, and then it can go all the way to Ottawa. So the public complaints director tends to be, I guess, more, I don't know if liaison's the right word, but they don't have a lot of powers actually, but they can, you know, advise the complainant on the status of the investigation if it's progressing through the system and all that. So it will be very important to define this role once the committee started, because I have seen, you know, sometimes it's not clear, and complaint directors think that they've had a lot more powers than they do, and they don't. And like I said, it goes through a process in different appeals, and it can ultimately end up all the way in Ottawa and take, you know, like 2 years. You know, it's not necessarily a process that's over in 2 weeks if there's a complaint. So.
Also, just to clarify, that Section 8 speaks about the roles of the public complaint director. Section 8.3, the public complaint director shall receive complaints against peace officers from the public and refer them to the officer in charge under the Police Act, act as a liaison. So kudos to CEO Scoble for that, between the committee and the officer in charge and the complainant as applicable, and perform duties assigned by the committee under the Police Act. So ultimately, that's a decision of council. This is not a required element. Some communities that we have done some research on have this specifically in their bylaw. Some do not. We included it in here and included the word may for that specific reason. Should council wish to not have this, it can be strucken. Could be removed from the bylaw, or if council wishes it to be in here, these are recommendations based on our research of other communities and their proposed bylaws. And as CEO Scoble indicated, you know, he has a lot of experience dealing with a very similar committee like this from St. Albert. So,
No, I'm not recommending to administration to struckened is the proper grammar, struckened from the bylaw. Those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Mitzner, and then Councillor Langmaid, and then Peterson.
Just for clarification from past councils, my understanding is that the RCMP choose the delegate to serve our community, and we as the town of Strathmore only endorse it. Is that true?
Through the chair, as CEO Scoble indicated, pretty much correct. Ultimately, the decision for should Staff Sergeant Wilgosh move along, they will appoint somebody from K Division.
Councillor Langmaid?
Thank you very much. While we're just chatting about the public complaint director, one question I have is, will the public complaint director also be the liaison between the Director of Community and Protective Services should the complaint be about our municipal enforcement? Right now, it's only referring to the officer in charge, which I think just deals with the RCMP, or would they all go through the officer in charge?
Through the chair, Councillor Langmaid, this specifically speaks about, in reality, our RCMP contract. Municipal enforcement complaints and things like that would go directly to myself or the CEO in this instance.
Okay. And then just scooting back to Section 3, duties and responsibilities, I think 3.1 is very clear on what the duties and responsibilities of the committee are. I'm wondering if it might be worth considering putting in a 3.2 just to clarify that ultimately the community safety plan is adopted by council. It's something that's prepared by the municipal policing committee, but ultimately adopted by council. If I have that correct.
Yes, Councillor Langman, we can definitely make that addition in there. Obviously, this would come forward to council as a part of the committee's minutes and agenda items. So they would probably be voting on that, the acceptance of that plan, as well as the minutes and things that come from this committee. But we can make that note.
Thank you. Those were my only 2 items.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Councillor Peterson?
My questions were answered, Your Worship, but the only thing I might add on 3E is that I think this is referencing how, in my time on council, at least each time we've had a change of leadership in the detachment, council has had input at that level. And I think, makes sense that this is what they're referring to. But thank you.
Deputy Mayor Wiley.
I would just like to say I support the amendment that Councillor Langmaid recommended, which is to have a section 3.2 that ultimately the public safety plan would come before council for approval.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mark? Seeing none, thank you, Mark. We move now to question and answer period. Councillor Wegener.
I don't have any specific questions, but I have a couple of things that I would like to bring up, a couple of statements. One of the things, if some people know about, some may not, but just recently, Len Vormans passed away. Len Vormans was a long-serving member of the Strathmore Lions. He was a long-serving career as a pilot. During that time, he did a lot of humanitarian work. Len was also a long-standing member of the Wheatland Housing Management Body, going through most of the different committees on there and eventually on the building committee. Len spent countless hours working on that committee. A big supporter of the new build as well as the hospice. And kind of on behalf of myself and Councillor Peterson, we both worked with him for a long period of time. It's just it was sad news when I heard it, and I just wanted to send my condolences to him or to his family, and to everybody that knew him and members of the Wheatland Housing Management Body.
Councillor Mitzner?
Yeah, a great man, also my neighbor. So can we request that a letter of condolence and maybe flowers or something be sent on behalf of the town of Strathmore? Please and thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wegener?
Just on a different note here, I just also wanted to say that in Strathmore, the Agri-Risk Wheatland Kings are a junior B hockey team that are based out of Strathmore, primarily taking kids from the county of Wheatland, Chestermere, Indus, and that area. And at the end of final season ended last weekend. Over the course of this year, they had a franchise record where they won the most games in league history. They finished up second in the league overall. And again, playoffs begin February 22nd, but this is another organization that I've been involved with for the last 16 or 17 years. So again, I just wanted to bring that congratulations to the team and the management and coaches. Thank you.
Thank you, and I understand, Cody Holdaway has contacted me, and I think he'll be contacting our comms department about a friendly wager involving wearing jerseys between the mayor of Strathmore and the mayor of Medicine Hat. Is that who they play? That's who they play. Yeah, so that may be coming. No, I will not be skating this year. Thanks for that. Any other questions or answers? Answers without questions. Seeing and hearing none, I guess we need a motion to go into closed meeting, a motion to go in camera. Councillor Mitzner?
I move that we go into camera to discuss items related to Section 24(1)(bi) of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act at 7:26. 6:26, sorry.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.